Hi guys, and welcome back to an episode of It's Not That Deep, the podcast. I am your host, Llani Belle, and I am here with my really good friend, Jade Spooner. Before I throw to you, I want to tell you what ChatGPT has given me for a bio.
Okay, hit me. Hit me.
Jade Spooner is one of my favourite people, full stop. She's one of those rare women who's built serious business success without losing her softness, her humour, or her heart. You might know her as the co-founder of Equolution, an app she started in her early 20s that grew into a multi-million-dollar nutrition empire and landed her on Forbes 30 Under 30. But here's what I love most about Jade. Behind the headlines and the hustle, she's a girl's girl. She's candid about the hard stuff, burnout, self-worth, learning how to slow down. She's gone from building bodies to building businesses, and she always brings a realness that's rare in the founder world. She's one of my good friends, and I'm so excited to have her on It's Not That Deep to talk about ambition, identity shifts, and how to evolve without losing yourself in the process.
Chat, don't.
How crazy.
How flattering of him. I really do love him.
I
really
him.
do love him.
No, but that is you to a T though.
That's so nice. Thank you.
You're like, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to have to thank him later.
Yeah.
Give him a little text.
Yeah. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
thank you.
Oh my God.
So good.
I want to start with, what era of your life are you in?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I feel like, you know when you're in periods of time where you always need to see what's ahead. Mm-hmm. I feel like this era is called enjoying the now. Like I really feel that. Like I know what's ahead and I have goals obviously and a vision board and all the rest, but I'm really enjoying, I have this theory that we collectively, because like all our friends and whatnot are a similar age bracket and whatever, but I think we'll look back at this time and say 30s were the best, you know?
I think
and I know that right now being in my 30s. So the motto is just enjoying the now while working to the future.
Towards the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that I was so scared to get into my 30s when I was in like my mid 20s.
Yeah.
And then the closer I got to 30 and all of my friends are just a couple years older than me, everyone's like, oh, sis, it's going to be the best.
It seems frightening in your 20s.
Yeah.
Absolutely frightening. But the more years that pass, and you know, I'm 33, so I've only had 3 in my 30s. But the more time that passes, the better it gets. And there's so many milestones, like things that you wanted in your 20s are happening in your 30s. You know what I mean?
Because you can actually afford
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so true. So true. Husband, wedding, house, investment,
yes.
all that kind of stuff. Like it's happening. And it was like, you wanted these things, girl. So I feel like my direction now is sort of just enjoying the now while focusing on the future. That's sort of something I'm trying to live by.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So there's so many things I want to go over today for everyone to learn a little bit more about you. I think we always relate so much on having such a breadth of personality and interests. And that's something that's massive with you. I think you are one of the hardest workers I know. You're so smart. Then you're also so up to date with what trends are happening on TikTok and dating. God, we could talk about dating.
We could, couldn't we?
We really
The
could.
old life, your current life, the two worlds colliding.
Jade and I have lived a life where, how would you explain it? We've just been in
lived a dozen lives in one life.
Yes.
Perhaps. I think that's the best way to put it down.
But also in terms of our lives, of our circles always
collided.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of overlap, and it was even when we didn't know each other, having not met face to face, it was like we knew each other.
100%. And like we knew all the same people, or just like the dating stories of the people that you've dated. We've had just like carbon copy situations.
Lessons.
And so I always say, because Jade's 3 years older than me, I'm like, okay, so that's where I'm going to be in 3 years time, where Jade is right now. Okay. So like just before I was like, so when did you and Matt meet again? At 29. Shit. I'm late. I'm late on the timeline.
But you can still get on the timeline.
Yeah, we're just going to
you just got to accelerate it.
Which is so exciting.
It is so exciting.
So I want to start with Equolution. Mm-hmm. And I think everyone that would know you knows a lot about Equolution, but maybe give us a whistle-stop tour about Equolution and your journey, because then I just have a few questions in regards to knowing when to leave the business, the relationship, the etc., and all of the different stages of business that go into that. But talk to us about equolution.
So my equolution journey began in my very, very early 20s, so around sort of 2021. This was like post bodybuilding competition where my co-founder and I sort of put our heads together after dieting so rigidly for 6 months of the year and looking fairly average when we stepped on stage. We were like, there must be another way. So we ended up finding this master nutritionist, and he was giving his clients ice cream and they were losing weight. So we were like, show me the money. Like, we want to do this as well. So we consulted with him, and it was the first time that in this whole health and fitness realm and world that we'd lived in for a couple of years at that point, everything finally made sense. And he started to talk to us about calories in versus calories out. He gave us this Twinkie diet study. This professor had eaten nothing but Twinkies and multivitamins and still lost weight. And it wasn't to say that that's the way we were going, but it was a science. We were being taught a science, and for once things just made sense. And we just were sort of like, well, how does the world not know about this? And one thing led to another, and that nutritionist ended up giving us calories and macros for his clients and saying, can you guys write the meal plans? We had a real knack for doing that and really, really enjoyed it. So that's how the whole meal plan writing kind of began. And then the three of us ended up forming Equolution. So this was around, I want to say about 2014. So fairly young.
Very early on.
Really early on, fairly young. And we got a bit of a breakthrough one weekend. Our clientele was growing steadily. He worked at a supplement store. He was basically like a face-to-face salesperson for the business, and was just funneling clients through the business. Then the testimonials started. So it was like one person told one person, this before and after sold it to another person, and it just started to organically grow slow and steadily. And we had ideas to take it full time. And then collectively with that, we had the idea to create a mobile app. So it was actually my co-founder called me one Saturday, and we were just bombarded with meal plans. We had so many for the day, and she was like, imagine if you could just punch in and it could just spit it out. And we were like, well, that's what we need to do. We need to create a mobile app. And back in those days, it wasn't as easy as finding a local developer, and they had a track record that you could look at. In Australia, no one was building an app here. Like very few people were building apps here, whether they were going overseas or whether it was just, hard to find. It was a really difficult kind of quest to go on, but we embarked anyway. And we ended up taking a one-way ticket to Silicon Valley, which we heard was the tech hub of the world. And it's so crazy when you think about it to this day. Quit our full-time jobs at Google, took the one-way ticket to Silicon. We heard that's where the tech hub of the world is, and we wanted to learn how to build a mobile app. And we either went there with the intention of finding a co-founder, a CTO, or just learning where to start in the mobile app space, or get investment. We actually did get an investment offer, which was really, really cool at such an early stage of the business that it was a ridiculous offer that we wouldn't take at all. But it was cool that there was a group of investors there that saw something in the business. So I think it was a little bit of validation at an early stage that we needed. And then we went to this conference, and we learnt from the founders of ClassPass, Uber, Lyft. Like, it would be very rare to this day to have all of the caliber of founders in one room that we experienced. And a lot of them had started in an accelerator program. So we came back to Australia and enrolled in an accelerator program. And then that was at Sydney University. And then we got put in touch with one person, another person, this mentor. And we ended up building a prototype with a bunch of uni kids. Didn't work. We then built an offshore app, which was about 280 grand. That went right down the drain. That didn't work. But we got third time lucky, meanwhile building the business in the background. And that was when we found our developer that successfully built the app. And I would say the app was where we really took off as a company. So essentially what it did was it allowed us to scale, reach more people, create a better customer experience, and it created personalized diet plans in 0.3 of a second, where it took us 30 odd minutes manually. Yeah. So it was a really good tool that we used to scale.
That's crazy.
It's the crazy. Yeah, it was a very crazy ride.
So the accelerator program was where you started to learn everything? Because as you're saying that, I'm thinking back to being in my early 20s. I obviously had a different trajectory with being a part of Sweat, but I don't even know if I'd probably understand like what a CTO is, getting investment, like all of those things. Were you just you didn't have ChatGPT?
No, we didn't. I wish we did.
Were you just reading up on everything to learn about it all? Like how did you even get to this stage where you're like, hey, Silicon Valley, we're going there, we're going to get investors, we need to get anything?
It was sort of just listen to stories, hear yourself in them, and then, do what works for you. But I will say, even while we were implementing learnings and direction that we'd gotten from people who'd done it before, people who were guiding us, there was few of those people, but the business itself that we were organically growing in the background was working with or without the app trajectory. So it wasn't consuming in the sense that I feel like to this day, there's a lot of businesses that are building mobile apps and they forget to build something in the background, being community and engagement and interest, because they're so focused on getting funding or, just things that aren't runs on the board as such when you look at, users and brand recognition and all that kind of stuff. I feel like at the time we were focusing on this goal and very spongy in things that were going to help us get to that goal, but also not taking our eye off growing this brand plus business in the background as well.
Yeah, which I think is exactly what you need.
Yeah.
If you were to go back in time, what would you change about the early days?
Truly nothing.
That's great.
And I know that is a very cliche thing to say because I know that people, generally have a mindset, well, if that didn't happen, that wouldn't happen. I wouldn't be here to this day. But there were few mistakes that were made in the early days. Even the first 2 apps that didn't work, the second one was obviously financially a bit of a blow, but overall it didn't hurt us. We dusted off our knees and got back up the next day, So I think there was nothing really that stands out as an error of judgment or mistake or anything like that. I think everything happened exactly as it was meant to, when it was meant to, because if you even think about the success that we had as soon as the app launched, if that had happened any earlier,
you would have been ready.
23, 24 years old, could we have handled that? Probably not,
No.
And when I say handle it, I don't mean, handle the money or handle the success. It's just handle the many different components that come with that, being managing a team, managing a product, managing, the marketing and the branding and the imagery and sales. There was just so many components that I think maturity allows you to handle better and with better care. So I think it happened exactly as it was meant to.
And then how old were you when it actually kicked off with the app?
26, 27.
Yeah, okay, so it was a few years later.
So it was around year 4 that we launched the app. The business grew by 987% in revenue. It was a very crazy jump and it happened really fast.
And what year was that?
2018, 19, I believe.
I think that must have been when I joined.
Yeah, it was
2019.
a bit of like a social phenomenon, I feel.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
Felt contagious. It felt like, but second to the marketing, because I do think we were great at marketing, the brand itself and we as founders really stood for something. We believed, and still to this day, I believe in what the business represents and the science and the practice of flexible dieting. It saved us, and then it went on to save so many other people as well. So there was a lot of authenticity and heart and soul behind it. And then of course came the team, which we had a work culture, and it traveled into a team and like a system internally, which people saw from the outside looking in, and then it became a bit multifaceted. It's like, yeah, there's this cool thing and it works, but have you seen the workplace? And like they look like they have so much fun and all that kind of stuff.
And the community, and everyone had their pages. Like I found it through Zara's page, your sister. And
that's so cool.
I know.
See, that's the crossovers
The
again.
crossover's crazy.
Yeah.
And I found it through Zara and was like, I love this. What's going on? Like, what is this whole nutrition app that's this phenomena that everyone's obsessed with? And then I got obsessed with Equolution. And it was exactly that. The community was so contagious.
It was very sticky.
Amazing. And then your team culture was great. And then I think the thing, whenever I've listened to your founder story or your co-founder's story, you guys actually don't talk enough about how hard you were working. That would be a thing that I would love to highlight on when you're in Piedmont.
Yes.
And all of those crazy
nights.
Like talk to me about that, because I think that people always just assume this overnight success, or you've become who you are right now and the business got there and you just clicked your fingers.
Yeah. And it probably looked like that from the outside looking in as well.
But talk to me about the long nights and the actual hard work and the grit that went into getting you to where it got to.
They were so long. The days were long, the nights were longer. It was a really funny thing because, like a lot of growing businesses, the hiring comes in times of, we weren't proactively hiring. We were hiring out of, oh God, we've hit that threshold, you know, we're capped or whatnot. Yeah, we need help. So that's how a lot of our early day hiring process went. So as you can imagine, we'd stretched ourselves to, you know, we were spread thin across all areas of the business. And I remember our worst night was probably going to bed at 4 a.m. and then needing to wake up at 5:30 to do it all again. God. And it was like running on no sleep. It's, you know, it was very hard, but we didn't complain truly. And also we were together and we were living together and, you know, best friends and whatnot. So it had some fun to it. Hired my sister really early on as well. We were like a little fun crew and everyone was in it till the end too. I remember we were so blessed with our team, our early team. Some of the girls would stay till midnight, but willingly. Obviously, they were getting paid. I'm not ignorant to that, you know, but they also didn't want to leave until the last meal plan was done because we were all in it together sort of thing. And even up until the end, like not that many months out from actually leaving the business, if the girls were stuck volume-wise, I would still jump in and do meal plans and things like that. And I feel like we really got our hands dirty. So there was hard work and then there was also no too big for your boots, like happy to get your hands dirty too.
Is that how you think you build a culture like that? Because I always talk about it with anyone that has a business now of how you can bring that back into a team. I think it's really not around as much anymore.
I'll do that to this day, you know. So currently I'm building another app, which is a business management solution for online coaches. And I said to my developer the other day something about manually auditing a database. And he said, "You're not going to do that, are you?" And I said, "Oh, no,
I will.
I will. I should," you know. And I think the humbling tasks, a lot of magic is created in those moments, not just because of the fact that you've got anything to prove to anyone else. It's not so much about that, but it's where the lessons are learned. It's where the work that's going to get you somewhere is usually done in those.
In between us.
Yeah, in between. And you know what, even, you know, getting our hands dirty and knowing every single element of the business, it made us better leaders to be able to hand over those tasks in the future when the time was right, when we could. But just because of my history, I'm not ignorant to the fact that I'm, you know, precluded from doing tasks in the future just because I did them in my 10-year-old business 8 years ago. Like, I'll do it again, you know. And once you're in a startup, the cycle begins again.
Do you love startup culture?
Oh, so much.
What do you love about it?
I think it's the build. Like, I think it's the building phase. I'm really addicted to it. And we were even talking in the car on the way here about how I can sort of call something when it's done. And I think that's why I get so attracted to new opportunities, is because I love to see the work. This is like literally my dating life before my beautiful husband. I love to see the work that needs to be done and use it as a challenge to be able to, you know, get in there and get the job done.
A bit of a fixer.
A bit of a fixer, yeah. But the thing that I love about the startup world is this is our vision, this is our mission, and this is where we're heading, and we're so not there just yet. But if it's strong enough, everything that we do from now until then, we'll get there. I love that mentality.
And being able to see it. Do you think you're the visionary or the integrator or both?
I think I had naturally always been the visionary, but after being very humbled in having to go back to startup world a few times over after Equolution, I'm more of an executor now because I've been in positions since where it's like, well, if you don't do it, no one's going to do it. You don't have a team of 35 anymore. It's you, or it's going to be, you know, not done or not done well. So I feel those two roles have kind of meshed for me since.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I think that it's sometimes hard for people if they don't have one or the other. I always say, I think for myself, I am an integrator through and through. I don't know if it's because I just feel like I'm navigating all different aspects of life, and because I haven't ever had much, I don't want to say guidance, but I guess guidance in life. So because of that, I am almost like going through life like I have the fog lights on.
Yeah, I get you.
Not the high beams.
I get you.
But if you were to say we need to get here, I could see the building block to get there, but I just don't know what even that is. I can't see that North Star.
Yeah.
But once someone tells me it, I always tell everyone, I'm like, I'm a great second in charge. That's why I haven't started my own thing.
Yeah.
But I'm a great second in charge. I find it really hard to be the leader of that.
I think every CEO needs a 2IC. Like for every someone, there needs to be that complementary.
Yeah.
You know, even in looking at why my business works so well, there was my co-founder and there was me, two completely different dynamics. One is yin and the other is yang, but work together so well. And that's probably why it worked. So I think every captain needs his first mate.
Yeah. To be able to go through things.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part that people don't understand about building businesses. I definitely don't have a rose-colored glasses on. Like, I've been a business coach. I've worked with so many businesses. I've been involved in so many startups. It's hard.
Well, I think even my sister's been in 2 business journeys with me now and also works really closely with me in advisory too. And I think she probably looks at what I do and thinks, it's great for you.
Yeah, me and Zara are very similar like
for me, you know, but she's more than capable of, if she wanted to go and start anything tomorrow, more than capable, got the tools, had the exposure, you know, got the people skills, all the things. But I'm sure that she's had a sense of perspective in looking at, you know, my journey, and even my brother as well, you know, it's in the family, and she probably thinks, rather not, you know, and that's fine. Building a business is not for everyone, and people who do it are not superior to those that do not either, you know, because without employees, business owners are nothing, you know, most of the time. So I think that they're both so complementary to each other.
I agree with that. I think it's also just knowing yourself. Like knowing
Very
yourself,
true.
knowing
And
what
your
you're
strengths.
good for, knowing your strengths, because then you can work towards that, which I don't think nowadays. I think everyone glorifies owning a business, running a business, thinking you're just going to have all this money
And straight away as
all
well.
this money, all this freedom. Like, I'm sure that everyone that owns a business knows you have no freedom, because now you're answering to everyone
all the time. All the time.
And the money's stressful.
I think you really need to, rather than go after business ownership, you need to go where you're good, you know?
Yes.
I think if there is someone listening that is like on the fence about starting their own thing, or maybe they've got a burning idea and passion, that's probably more where you should be looking, instead of, I want to just start something of my own.
Yeah.
I think that's a great first intention to have, but following that needs to have an accompany of skill and also passion as well.
And just also being open to what that could look like.
Yes.
And it might be different than what you are initially thinking,
And
or that it looks like on Instagram.
And if it doesn't work, just call it and just try something new.
Which you're so good at.
There's no harm in that.
This is what we were saying in the car. Jade, it's water off a duck's back when things don't work for her. She just moves on. Like, we were just like, oh, no, I'm not doing that anymore. And
I call it a lot
wow.
earlier now than in the past, because I have to say my exit probably ran over a little bit more time than what it needed to, if I was honest with myself. That was my first I'm done moment in my life. So I hadn't really had anything to compare it to, but looking back now, it had probably run its course before I actually called it. But now, because of going through that, if anything becomes stale now, or if it's not working, not serving, or there's a better opportunity, I'm happy to pivot, and provided it doesn't, you know, hurt anyone or anything, I'm really happy just to, you know, close the chapter and move on, and looking at life now in chapters rather than making the business, business, my whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. So you look at it as a pivot, which I think is a big mindset change. Like, it's not something didn't work out. You're like, no, we're pivoting from this
redundancy.
direction. The redundancy.
The redundancy.
So I was made redundant this week, guys, from my full-time job. And everyone's like, are you okay? And I was like, strangely, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it just means that there's redirection going on. God knows what that's going to look like. I am very delusional and I sometimes always just land on my feet.
You
somehow.
do. You are that girl.
So
you are that girl.
It will work out and we'll have something better than we previously did. But it's the pivot. And I think ego gets involved there. And that's something that I would love to properly understand from how you've separated your ego from the outcome of these things you get started in. Because that's even me starting this podcast. First of all, I spoke to you about this over a year ago. Did nothing with it. And then started to do it, backed out, and have just taken forever to get it off the ground.
Things
more
take
so,
time, sis.
But also it's the ego that I've like, oh, what if it doesn't work out? It doesn't. I'm not going into it with that you just pivot.
But what if it does also?
True.
That's the other mindset as well.
True.
I'd rather try and know with full confidence that I tried and it didn't work out than 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it didn't work out and I've only got myself to blame.
That's true. I think that's a really good mindset to have around it.
Yeah.
And then talk to me around how you removed your ego from the conversation when it came to deciding to leave the business that was your whole life up until that point, and then how you've sort of carried that into everything.
I don't believe there was any ego in that. I actually felt like it was a really nice narrative that I was in control of. You know, I left at its peak and I could see what was coming from a market perspective, other competitors, you know, what we were and were not doing at the time. And I also had felt like I had done my job. You know, I really felt like I had done my job as best and possible as I could have, and it was just my time. So I think that was a little bit less ego than other things that came after. So really shortly after that, I had a short-term contract as a chief marketing officer for a big supplement company, which again, it was a great opportunity and it was a great role and I did great and they wanted me to extend. I didn't want to extend because I'd done my time, you know, and I was ready for the next challenge. The things that came after that I felt were the difficult ones to not extend because I was probably looking for the next evolution, you know, which meant a 10-year stint, start, grow, scale, sell. That's my second run on the board. You know what I mean? And still to this day, I haven't had that narrative and I'm very, very open to the fact that it hasn't come yet and it's still on the cards. Like it will happen again. I will have another business. I will grow it. I will sell it. That will happen. But I haven't found that thing yet. So that's why there has been a number of things in between because it's a process, you know, and I truly feel like this next one is the one because that's the idea that I left the business with. You know, it was what I wanted to do with the business and how I wanted to progress in the industry, going from business to consumer to business in this space. And it's like the podcast thing. It's just taken the process and the balls to now be like, no, this is what I actually want to do. But there's been a lot of learnings in between and a lot of having to just swallow the pride, say, all right, I started an agency. We did super well, ran for 1.5 years, 7-figure agency. On paper, you would say, back that horse. But something just didn't feel right, you know, and I'd done my dash with the agency model. I thought I can't see myself doing this forever. So take that as a win and move on to the next, you know. So it's not about like chopping and changing. I don't want to sound inconsistent, but when you've had one business for nearly a decade in your 20s, there is nothing better you can do than try other things.
Yeah.
It's just, I'd be cutting myself short of experience if I didn't. And as a result now, I'm so much more well-versed. I've, you know, in advisory, I've worked with over 150 startups in consulting and advising on short-term, long-term, one-to-one bases. And you just, the amount of experience I can't even compare to even a 10-year stint in one business, you know?
Yeah. I think that something that really shows in your journey is it reminds me of when I was in real estate that it honestly was a numbers game. It was really the more calls you made, the more appointments you'd book, the more buyers you'd meet. And so everything was just keep trying and volume.
Yeah.
And it's listening to you. That is the biggest difference, and I hear from others, founders' stories. 'Cause I think a lot of the time people want to jump on and talk about the success of the one big business and not all of the other things that you've tried along the way, which I think is so nice and vulnerable from you.
I'm starting to own that part. If you even listen to like a lot of my previous podcasts, you'll find a lot of the focus is on Equilition. And obviously I'm comfortable and confident to talk about Equilition and the learnings and, you know, things that went really well. But I think my story began in the after part. That's where I fought, if I'm completely honest with you. A lot of Equilition for me was really easy, if I'm being completely upfront. It came so naturally. It was like being pushed in a direction that you were God-given, born good at, you know? That's what that business felt like to me. But everything after that felt challenging. And it's the high that you come off being in a business like that, getting a valuation, exiting, being bought out by private equity, venture capital, all that kind of stuff. It's a really hard pedestal to come down from. But the come down was where a lot of my lessons were, to be completely honest with you. You don't just jump from one thing to the next. You have to rebuild your whole life. And another thing that a lot of people don't understand is exiting doesn't mean you get a check the next day. Yeah. You're on your ass for a lot of it before that moment sort of comes. So when I left the business, I actually did not know. It wasn't like I left for another opportunity or walked into, you know, something else. And that's the whole reason I left. I left because it was no longer aligning with my soul and did not know what was on the other side. So I think that's probably where a lot of the character building
came from.
It happened, yeah.
And then, so this is a key place that I'm interested in, is how did you know to make that jump? Like, what was the feeling? What did life look like? I'm assuming from the outside, life looked great.
Very much so.
Everything was great. And so then what was the feeling internally that made you want to make a change?
I think it was the lack thereof. There was almost, I was becoming very numb to life, and things that I should have been thanking my lucky stars for felt normal, and there was a sense of very comfortable, but then also very empty. It was like a lot of conflicting feelings of like, this is great, but this is also very, very empty for me as well. Unhappiness, very, very lonely in a life where I wasn't lonely. You know, I have an amazing family and they've always been there. I've had the same girlfriends since I was in year 3. So there was a lot of reasons to not feel lonely, yet I felt really lonely. And I think that was just purely the disconnection between myself, my values, and how I was living my life compared to what I truly wanted.
What were your values different?
I think in comparison to me now, anyone who knows me knows that my relationship is a really important and really big part of my life. And that Matt. I know, I love Matt so much too. And I didn't have love back then, and knowing what I know now, I think there was a lot of work that I needed to do on myself in just regards to self-love and, you know, self-confidence and all that kind of stuff that came and attracted then the right person. So that was an element of my life that I was ready for, and I felt that because I wasn't living out my truth, it wasn't coming to me. So that part A. Part B was I'd be more than happy to say to mum, yeah, I can't make family dinner tonight, got to work or whatnot. That's okay at times, but that was becoming me and my personality. And that's not me. So I think I was disconnected in a big way there from my family, which is a really important part of
your life.
My life.
The spoon's everything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to marry him, guys.
She needs a seat at the spoon table pronto. And yeah, so just a lot of things now that are super important to me were just, I was not, you know, not at all aligned with them at the time. I was living a very isolated and narrow focused life. And I think, to be honest with you, because I'd lost my love for the business, I then just utilized it as a way to not connect with the bigger picture and bigger meaning of life. It was sort of just like, I've got to work or I'm too busy with the business. But I wasn't really. I had the freedom to be able to engage in life. I just didn't know how. I'd just lost myself so much. know?
Do you journal a lot? Like, I think, because when I'm listening to you say that, I can relate so much. That was part of the reason why I left Sweat in the beginning. I just realized I had started there when I was 18 years old, and it was all I knew. The success was all I knew. But then I realized, I think it was about 22, 23, that I was deciding on leaving, that I wasn't really living my story. I was living someone else's idea of success and someone else's idea of how to behave and do all these things. And so I had a moment where I sort of saw my life in a fork in the road of, I could continue down this trajectory. Yeah, probably financially great opportunity. I think I'm on a winning horse, or I can stop and start again, but be more values aligned with who I am. And I chose to start again, and it really did factory reset my life and have to start from ground zero. But I have never been able to put my finger on what or how I realized that, because I see it nowadays with people that don't realize they're so lost, but they're not, like, it's not clicking to them that they're lost. They know something isn't right. But do you have any words on like how you would articulate that feeling, or how you got there? Were you reflecting, or was it just an empty feeling and then you sort of kept on? I'm the type of person, if I have a pain point, I'll push on it.
Persist with it.
So I'm like, what is that? What's that pain point? Why does this hurt? Why does this feel weird? What's going on? And then but I meditate and journal to get to the bottom of that. Like, what was yours?
I don't think I did anything. And if anything, I did more out of character things to almost cope. You know, I partied a lot. I was out drinking, and I spent most of my 20s not touching alcohol. So that was a funny thing, kind of getting to this 25, 26 mark, experiencing this success in the business. And then all of a sudden, being a party girl, I'm loose cannon. Like,
so sad I missed it.
You know? And I think things like that were happening where I was sort of just like, wait, that's not really you, but it was at the time. So there was a little bit of disconnect, but I think more than anything, it was just the feelings I wasn't feeling. You know, right now it's funny because I romanticize every part of my life. Like, I walked into the Langham this afternoon and it was like a moment like off a movie where I was like, how beautiful is this? And like going into the bathroom, putting my robe on and just being like, you know, so I just have so many moments of gratitude. I had zero of those in such a beautiful life that I had created with so much meaning and purpose. But evidently there was something missing if I wasn't filled with, you know, in this happiness bubble. And I think that's really the point of comparison between now versus then, is I just wasn't a happy person back then. Yeah. I've also had, for a lot of years since I can remember, I think my first experience with it was going to the doctors during my HSC and saying I'm just vomiting like around my exam time and I can't afford for this to happen. You know, I want to get into law and blah, blah, blah. I just put so much pressure on myself. And it was sort of like, oh, you've got anxiety. And while we're here, we might just test for some other things, and realizing I had depression as well. And so that mental health aspect it's in my DNA, and it's probably something, mental health is something that I've always had to pay attention to, because if you let it slip, you know, it can get the better of you, and one day you're out there conquering the world and crushing your dreams, the next minute you don't want to get out of bed. So it's one of those things that I actively need to pay attention to how I'm feeling, or else I can get sucked up by it, you know.
Oh my God, I get you.
So
100%.
So that was a big thing, because I'm not just going to ignore it. I was very attentive to the feels and just knew I was just unhappy. I was unhappy. Yeah. My life as I knew it had run its course, and it was time for the next chapter. And it was, don't get me wrong, it was so scary. I think now there's a little bit more around exits and, you know, what to do when you're wrapping up a company. I always say there's a lot of information out there about how to start a business. There's very few bits of info as to how to end one. I think we're a little bit more guided now, but when I pulled the pin and called the spade a spade, I had no idea what was to come, you know, and perhaps if I'd known, I may have not jumped on the roller coaster, because it was quite turbulent. There was so many different moving parts to it. There's losing an old version of yourself and almost divorcing from an old life. There is relationships that no longer exist in a day-to-day routine that you've known for 8 years that now is history. There's what am I going to do next? There is have I made a complete mistake and going in loops of that. So there's so many different parts of it that come with making a decision like that.
You sort of feel like you're in survival mode for those first 6-12 months.
Yeah, you know, I read this book when I first hired Bree. So Bree, for some context, is my old EA at Equilition who has since turned best friend. So she was one of my bridesmaids. Yeah, she was one of my bridesmaids at my wedding, and we're like this, you know. And she taught me a lot about life while I was experiencing this very big life, you know, and just about, she's got a really great partner and now a very great marriage. But at the time she would always, talk to me about what a relationship is supposed to look like when I was talking to her about my situationships that were hard work, and she just set me in a really good mindset for what I would want that isn't materialistic surface level like the life that I was very much involved in. I'm sounding like an asshole, but I was just very consumed in the business dimension of my life. And it was this is more sort of like Bree teaching me about things that there are to look forward to outside of this world. I don't feel like
you sound like an asshole.
I don't want to sound superficial, but
no, but it was something that was so important to you and was your whole life.
It was my whole life. And that's not life. I tell you now. I think at the core, I will always be someone who does things passionately, and work will always be an important part of my life, but it was my life, and I think that's what's different to this day. And there's a time and place for everything. In startup world, there is no to this, no to that. I'm in startup world, and something has to give, and I think there's a time and place for everything. But that period of time was too long. I needed to give back to myself at some point. But anyhow, back to Bree. So Bree had given me the book, The Universe Has Your Back.
Oh, I love that book.
Yes. And that phrase truly got me through the exit, because I just remember thinking the universe has your back. She has a plan. It's already written in the stars. You've just got to follow the yellow brick road, Just weather the storm, the good days, the bad days. You'll get through it one foot in front of the other, and that just kind of stuck with me, because there were some really hard days, and there were moments where I was like, what the fuck have I done? This is a nightmare, and I've created this. But in time, it was the best decision that I ever made, and it was such a redirection of my personal brand, and the opportunities that have come after would not be the case if I was
still in it.
Still there.
I just also think it had to be hard for you to prove to the universe that you were ready for the next chapter, the next thing to come along. If it was just another easy win, the universe would have been like, she'll just flow with anything.
She was probably like, it's time for this girl to work again.
Yeah,
she needs to head down, bum up, and have it really hard.
Which I think is... It's just so beautiful to hear you be able to explain it so eloquently. I think I have a lot of successful people in my life, especially founders. And the thing that I always say is when people ask me, how's this person in real life, or what's this person like? And I'm like, they're just another person. And what people don't properly understand is the sacrifice that goes into creating a business or creating this success. For example, for you guys, you really sacrificed your 20s. I used to always say this to your co-founder, is you sacrificed your 20s to build this business, and then now you guys are in your late 20s and early 30s, and you're just now doing things that I was doing back when I was 21.
So true. Hence the drinking.
Hence the drinking, hence the dating.
Like we're 18.
Hence the things. And I was like, what do you mean? What's this situation happening? You're in your late 20s now. How? But it's because you didn't get to live in those nights when we were out.
Literally going to Flamingo nightclub in King's Cross, 27, flipping my hair about like I'm 18 years old.
Yeah, perfect.
Girl, you're just a bit late to this party.
Yeah. Oh,
this queue was calling your name when you were 18. You would know where to be seen.
So let's talk about situationships.
Yeah.
And the situationship era of your life and the dating era of your life. Now you're in a beautiful marriage.
I am.
With Matt, who we love so much.
We love him.
But there was a phase of your life where dating was just horrible.
It was one tale after the other. My dating life could best be described as small but mighty. There was few experiences, but God, they knocked me over.
Yeah, God.
God, they knocked me over.
So talk to me, I guess, around, we don't have to go into details, but just the different relationships that you found yourself in, and I guess the learnings from them is something that I think we relate to a lot.
This is really good timing because yesterday I actually went to very sad circumstance, but my very first boyfriend from high school, we were on and off for 9 years. So from 14 to 23, more on than off. I think we broke up for 6 months, 22 to 23, tried to get back together. It didn't work out. Anyhow, we were best friends. And I was even saying to Matt last night, I see so much of our relationship in that relationship because you kind of always circle back to what you know feels good, being that one thing that my first boyfriend taught me was that before anything, you have to be best friends but my first boyfriend and I were a little too best friends, not enough lovers, romantic relationship. Whereas now I have a really nice balance of Matt's my best friend, but I'm also hugely attracted to him and we have chemistry and all the romantic side as well. But I was saying to Matt that I really feel that there was a lot in that I later took in the future to be like, that's what I want in my forever person. What I learnt back then when I was younger, which was loyalty, which was best friendship first and being a part of a family because I was so involved in his family, et cetera, et cetera. So yesterday what happened was his mum passed away and I decided to go to the funeral, which to be honest with you, I was a little bit, do I go, do I not go? But she had done so much for me in all those years and was such a mother figure that I felt I owed it and to go and pay my respects. So I ended up going and I was a little nervous. I hadn't seen him since I was 23 years old. Since the day we broke up, we never ran. You
all still live in the same area.
We just never ran into each other. The universe will
crazy
not.
Once the door's closed.
That's it. They won't cross you back over. But, obviously my, moment with him was very brief and it was sort of just, I'm sorry. But I just felt like there was this mutual peace, and I sort of looked at him and I remember thinking, you taught me so much. And it was really nice to look back at that first experience as like a really good one. So that is a real standout relationship, that first one, And yeah, like I said, his family is super successful, really ambitious. That was my first sort of, I guess, demonstration and example of what hard work paying off looks like and success and the lifestyle I wanted to live. I remember, I don't come from a very well-off family. His parents would take us all, he's one of 5 as well. They would take us all out to beautiful restaurants for, family occasions. And I just always remember thinking, this is so cool, that they can do this for the entire ginormous family, plus ones, all the rest. They just gave their kids a really, really good life. The brothers were super successful. I remember one was 25 years old and rolled up home in a brand new Lamborghini. He was a builder and just doing really well. And it was just sort of my first example of real ambition and there was a lot of lessons in that. So that was the first kind of relationship that I would say stood out. The situationships, I guess the dating, were more experiences than they were such positive life lessons like that first relationship. I think there was a few. I mean, like I said, I didn't have a lot of experience, but I remember there was sort of a time where I decided that I wanted to date, and I would say this is around 26. So again, business very consuming in those 20s, and then it kind of got to a point where it was oh yeah, I've got to kind of do this thing now. I got to meet people and all the rest. And then obviously, naturally you meet people out and whatever and take interest in someone, but nothing really ever stuck. I had one probably genuine. I felt very strongly about someone, didn't reciprocate with the same commitment. So it was like giving, not getting.
But then, so what I found really interesting, and I think something that we can relate on for dating in like our late 20s, is we were just going for these guys that would breadcrumb us. But why were we interested in them? Because now I think I am in a very different place. Obviously, you are too. I just would not even entertain someone that was breadcrumbing me now. Like we were having a conversation on the way here about someone that breadcrumbs everyone. And I'm like, oh God, they've got to get rid of him. I just can see it, push it off to the side.
I feel like you don't know what you don't know though.
Yeah, okay.
It's like you have to have the falls to be able to get back up again and say, okay, won't be doing that again. But at the time, you know, like even thinking about first beautiful relationship, you walk into something else and think, oh, it's probably going to end up like that, you know, pleasant and there's so much mutual love and whatnot. And then it doesn't even eventuate into a commitment, you know.
No, so, it doesn't even eventuate into anything.
You think you're dating, they don't think you are, you know, one of those things.
Yeah, okay, that's true. So it's just the experience that you don't have, and now we're jaded and we can see it all.
And you can see it, yeah.
We can see it really clearly.
I actually was talking to a girlfriend this morning and I just remember saying to her, like, she was like, what do you reckon? And I was like, stop trying to make it work. It's not working. You're just like trying to force a, you know, circle in a triangle.
So what was different about Matt?
It worked and it was so easy. I think pre-Matt, all the situationships were really hard. You know, I had one great relationship. Everything that followed that was just so hard.
And when you say hard, what do you mean by that?
So much work, so much thought, so much overthinking and should I, shouldn't I, should I message him or is that too, you know, is that too clingy? Do you think I don't speak to him today and then maybe he'll message me tonight? Like all of that stuff. And it sounds like games, but it's lack of confidence. The bottom line is it's lack of confidence, you know? And I think with Matt, I never had those, I never second guessed at all.
He just gave you also the security. I think that was a big part of all these breadcrumbing and well, just those type of guys and those situationships that a lot of people go through is they don't give you insecurity because they don't want to be with you.
Yes,
that's why I'm sorry. That's tough. But so they don't give you that. So then you're just in an insecure mindset. Like I think I'm very securely attached, borderline avoidant, unless someone's more avoidant than me and then I'm anxious.
Yeah.
And so it would just bring out that anxious side where you would think, what do you think he means by this message? What's that? And like if someone else tells me that, I'm like, he probably means exactly what he just said, maybe. Yeah. Like I don't think it's that deep. And so I think that security is something that Matt brought you and then you're able to flourish. And then I think you've really just eased into the relationship thereafter.
I also think just honesty goes a long way as well. And I remember really early on, like we were talking about, we had a family weekend away for my mum's 60th and we were talking about Matt's first post on Instagram of me. And it was like 2 weeks after we'd met and he wrote, my person with a love heart.
I feel like I can actually remember this. I actually feel like I've been a fan of your relationship, like almost from the outside. I'm like, I can remember the post and you guys were in Coogee.
Yes, literally we were at Coogee Pub. And there was no one was guessing about where the other person stood. We both just knew. Nice. And obviously he turned out to be my person. So that pattern
helps.
Yeah, you know, is quite common in people that find their people because you're with that person because you're going to end up together. Mm-hmm. But I just had never felt that certainty before and there was no second guessing. If he went out with his mates, I wasn't petrified that I was going to lose him to a one night stand. You know, there was none of that. And it sounds, I laugh now because I'm like, how ridiculous is that? That was situationship life. Mm-hmm. It was horrific. Yeah. It was actually horrific, you know?
So what do you think that people can look for in someone or almost what are the things that we can tell? Because I know there's so many girls listening because it's always messages in my DMs about this of what to look for that I think, I hate using the term red flags because I think it's just like a very buzzword, but red flags that someone's not going to stick around I'm very good at, I think, in dating wise, calling a spade a spade. Like, I'm like, this is just fun. It's just fun for him. It's just fun for me. There's nothing more to it. I'm not going to overthink it. I don't think everyone can do that. But I can almost disassociate from my emotions of a situation and just like call it a bit logically. What do we think are red flags people need to look out from now that we've had experience to be like, sis, call a spade, just have it as fun and don't put all of your money on this?
I think the first one is I'm not looking for anything serious. That is really concerning. When you're prepared to invest time into something and are using it as a semi-challenge. Well, you don't think you're looking for anything, I'll show you. This girl is not one you want to miss out on. I had that mentality. Oh, yeah, but you'll end up.
Wait.
Yeah, you just wait. And then the narrator, she waited it out with no result.
Everyone waited. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Okay, so I'm not looking for anything.
I'm not looking for anything is usually fairly close to the truth. And second one is doesn't at all represent anything that you want, This girlfriend of mine that I was talking to this morning, she said that she was talking to someone who said something really alarming to her about how when they are with someone, they tend to morph into whoever they want them to be. I think that is such a common thing.
Yeah.
It probably happens
all the time.
I feel I was that girl as well. Like I think, oh, you're not looking for anything? Same. Actually not. Not the truth.
Same either actually.
Me too. And how shit is it when people are looking for something?
Yeah. Unless you're looking for something 100%. You've been talking about in your journal to ChatGPT every single night.
Actually,
you're like, no, either am I.
Yeah. So if someone isn't mirroring what you want now or in the future, they're probably not for you. And no amount of morphing is going to deny what you truly want deep inside.
That's true.
So I think that's another ready.
I think the biggest thing I always try to remind myself of is you're never going to say the wrong thing to the right person.
True.
So the morphing and the cosplaying being the perfect girl for whoever's sitting across from you, if you're just yourself and it works, that's your person versus that isn't going to last forever. I've dated people that have become honestly my vision board and then it's been like month 3 and the cracks showed and I had just felt like the
halo has slipped.
The rug was pulled out from underneath me. I was like, who is this person that I'm with right now? And it was they'd created a version of themselves that was everything that I'd wanted. And when I look back in hindsight, I realized we had lots of conversations about what I was looking for or what I was into in someone. And I just thought he ticked all these boxes, but he actually became all these things. And he was really honest about it and was like, it wasn't malicious. It wasn't intentional at the time. He's like, I just thought I could be this version of myself for you, but I obviously can't. And it's so sad because he's so beautiful. And I was like, you could have just been yourself. And that I would have fallen in love with that anyway. But then you became this person, set myself up, and now there's a layer of deceit going around. And I'm like, how much of this is the real thing? And I feel like I was just like caught blindsided. So I think that's it. You just need to be yourself and your person will find you.
Definitely.
And it will align with you.
Definitely.
On that.
Can I share another really superficial and childish red flag?
Yes, please. I beg.
Instagram. Check the following, girl. Check.
Oh, okay. So who they're following?
Who they're following.
That makes me feel sick. I don't want to.
Who they're following. I feel like it's a telltale. If it's like full of Instagram girly, other people that may kind of raise red flags, like, oh, maybe they've slept together and then,
Yeah.
If you've got an intuition, I'm sure the Instagram following will confirm it.
Yes, so true. I also just think guys don't think about this. I say this to all of my guy friends because obviously men think they are on a pedestal and they can just do whatever they want and no one cares and women are so just scrutinized around everything in terms of like who they date and all of these things. for any female that is self-respecting or just is similar to us in type of girls, which I'm assuming will be a lot of people that are listening, when I am talking to a guy and he is under the photo of every single female that I follow,
some
disgusting.
clothed, some not clothed.
Off it. I'm
We
like,
don't like
you are
it.
a man of the streets and not for me. Let me tell you that much. So like, just be a bit discerning.
Yeah.
With it. You don't need to be on every single girl's everything.
Double
liking.
tapping.
Yeah.
Double tapping.
So Instagram for sure is a red flag.
Yeah, I think that's a red flag. I was really pleased to see Matt's 502 followers
He would
and
follow just a bunch of, like, trading
280 following
Yes.
and half of them are golf and UFC.
Yeah.
That was so nice.
Yes.
That was really nice.
See, that I can definitely see that Matt would be like. Is there anything else that we feel like could be red flags to look out for?
I think first date intuition has got to be a cue that's listened to more closely as well. I feel like sometimes we ignore that drive home talk that we have to ourselves of, oh, he said that and maybe, but it's fine. We'll just brush that under the rug. Sometimes they're the big things that pop up later.
True. I always think that the red flag that you overlook in the beginning is the thing that comes back and bites you in the ass. And my best friend's husband always has a go at me about it because he thinks I cut off people too quickly. And I'm like, no, I'm just saving us all time, headache, because he'll watch me talk about this on repeat.
I feel like you need to do your own solo episode on just
My
your
dating life?
Yeah. Like what your close friends experience in your voice memo podcast that you send us.
Yeah, God, because my dating life's insane.
It's so funny.
I think when you ignore it, it's what's going to come back. So just be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And be honest with your friends. I know when I have to lie to my friends about something that he's done, he needs to be written off immediately. When I'm twisting the truth on the way he treated
When I'm
me,
fabricating.
the way he did something, I know.
When I'm glistening light on things just to take away from the red
something
flags.
I know that that's not going to work out in the long run. I think my other one for red flags is just when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
True.
Like when a guy says to you, you're just too good for me, believe him because he's going to show you exactly why. Yes. That is as well.
That's so true. Do you know, I didn't date a lot. I was sort of, context, hung up on a situationship for 3 years. I thought situationship was my husband and it's just going to work out.
You're just a hopeless romantic and that's what I love about you.
You know the ins and outs of that situation.
Yes.
That was literally like fool's gold at its finest. There was so much, this could be the love story of the century, but
Or it could definitely not.
Or it could definitely not be, and you've just wasted a lot of years. But then after I put that to rest, I think I dated like maybe 3 or 4 guys and it was never like simultaneously. It was always like a couple of months. I gave them a good go, you know, like I didn't like go on one date here and one date there. I would see someone, and now being married and having just a very small chapter of that, I'm so glad I did it. If anyone was single and like looking for love, I would say date. You know how some people say don't date, get off the apps, you know, preserve your energy. I actually think that it's such a good experience when you have the right mindset. Like I remember the dating period knowing full well that none of them were my husband, but that's not really why I was there at the time. It was more like enjoying company and actually going on dates because I had actually not gone on dates. Yeah, wow. I hadn't actually gone to like mini putt or to a bar and had a drink with a guy. I actually hadn't done that.
Yeah.
Until late 20s.
You need to date. I think that's where you get a lot of the experience from, in terms of exactly what we're talking about with knowing when things are breadcrumbing or knowing what's work or what your self-worth is. You almost need to lose your self-worth, kind of like with business. Lose it all to then realize, no, this is not what I want. I am not going to be treated like this. I'm not going to act like this. And then the next person you meet, you act differently. And then I think it's just, I think dating is so healthy. I think it's so fun. I always tell all of my girlfriends, I'm like, it's like muscle you should flex. I wouldn't say I date heaps just because I find it hard to like anyone.
Yeah.
But I still think it's a fun thing that everyone should do.
Yeah.
And should get out there and also just use people feels really has negative connotation, but use situationships for where you are and the stage of life that you're in.
And it doesn't mean you need to sleep around. You don't even need to sleep with them. You know, I think let it be what you need it and want it to be at the time. It doesn't mean that you have to give yourself to every Tom, Dick and Harry. No. It just means that you're experiencing the company of someone else in whatever way that looks like for you.
And just being treated in a certain way.
And some of them will treat you good, but it just might not be the right person.
Yeah.
And that's something that you have to be open to as well. Like I can even think of a couple of guys that I had dated who were great, but just we were not for each other. It wasn't going anywhere, you know, but didn't hurt me, wasn't a disaster story.
No.
It was just not the right person, and that's the purpose of it. And then when the right person comes around, they will stand out like dog's balls. It will feel like nothing that you've ever experienced.
I think it's also that it doesn't always have to be so dramatic and crazy. Like I definitely think I have some dramatic, crazy stories, but I think a lot of the time it's ended quite civilly. I get along with almost everyone from my past, and it's lessons that I've learned. Like I always think back to I was in a relationship, it ended, I was so heartbroken. It was actually what started off my whole TikTok following, talking about that, working through that. And then on the back of that, I fell into this other situation, and he was just so light and easy breezy, didn't overthink anything, also treated me so well, was such a gentleman, was such a provider. And that almost was like a factory reset, because for a while there I was like, I'm never going to find anyone again.
You restore your faith in men.
And then I got back to this lovely golden retriever who was just so perfect, and he's not my person. But like I thank him for that chapter and what we went through then, and how he just helped with that, and hopefully I added something of value to his life as well. And then moving on. And there's nothing dramatic there. There's nothing, any animosity or anything. It was what it was, and then we just moved on.
More of those good stories.
Yeah.
That's the chips you need to be stacking.
Yes. I think that's also what people need to know about dating, is it's not always dramatic. Like obviously you always want to go into it kind of like business.
I think it's reflective of where you are at that time as well.
Yes.
You know, if you're dealing with internal traumas, struggles, stuff, it's probably going to find its way and surface in your relationships, being friendships, being romantic relationships. So I think it really depends on your self-awareness in terms of how you are at that time, and truthfully ask yourself, am I ready to engage with someone else, or am I going to project? Or am I going to attract the wrong thing because I'm not where I want to be?
Yeah. And I think sometimes with that, I always go back and forth with this, and I'm like, am I ready? Am I not ready? I think now I'm at a stage where I'm ready to work through triggers with people, because I think I can very quickly run. I'm a bit of a runner track star. So now I'm at a stage where I wouldn't say I'm not a runner. Like things will definitely spook me for sure. But I think I'm now a lot more just mature, calm, level-headed, where I definitely can have the conversations with people and say, hey, I get spooked by this. So like if it happens, I'm probably going to go a bit quiet.
I'm telling you, the 30s are a different energy altogether.
You're just so confident in it.
You are. You're so much more found and certain and confident in yourself.
Yeah, and it feels just
and you
so
bring
much
that
nicer.
to the dating table as well. I met Matt, like we were saying earlier, when I was 29, and I feel like that was on the cusp of just that maturity streak of this is what I want, and I'm really clear on it.
Yeah.
And I remember even thinking with Matt when I first met him, like I knew straight away, but I was also of the mindset that if this doesn't work out really early on, I'll call it and
just keep it moving.
Yeah, because I just don't want to find myself in another 3-year situationship where we're not going to get married, have kids, start a life together, build a life together.
I think that's a really good point of knowing to draw a line in the sand when you are, I guess, getting a bit older. I think there is a lot of examples that I've seen of people that have lost a lot of time because they've focused on that one deadbeat loser.
It's such a shitty consideration, but it's so real.
Sad. Yeah.
It's such a reality.
You just have to cool it and be like, I'm going to be alone and that's going to be sad, but it's not going to be sadder than being with the wrong person and wasting years of my life.
Or heading in a direction that's not where you want to go.
And then you have to work all the way back to get back to where you need to be and then start again. Like I say that to some of my girlfriends, you know, when people break up and then they're just in that limbo phase that everyone goes through. I said it to one of my other girlfriends recently. I was like, sis, we've been having the same conversation for 9 months. So, you know, you could be 9 months healed.
Such a needed friend. Like such a necessary friend.
I mean it with love. Like we can keep having this conversation for the next 5 years if you want to, but we could be 9 months healed as well.
I so wish you were around during my 3 years situationship.
Yeah, I'm brutal with those type of things.
You would have so set the record straight.
Yeah,
you'd be like, I see what you see, but it's not going where you want it to go.
We're not on the right ship, sis. We've got to get off.
We've got to get off.
We've got to keep it moving. Everyone needs an honest friend. But I only am like this because I have best friends that are so honest with me. Like my friends, everyone in my life would love for me to be in a beautiful, loving relationship. But everyone is also so honest.
I love the keeping things from the friends, that fabricating the story just so
I know
we don't
when
get
I'm
dealt the
stumbling
honest
on my words about something that's happened to me. It's not even happening to them. They don't know. They don't care. But I'm like, if I tell them that he actually did that, they're going to be so pissed off. They're never going to like him. He's never going to be invited to dinner.
Never.
So I'm going to just have to lie about it. And then I just like kind of like sweep it under the rug. And then in like 3 months' time, something similar comes up at a bigger
scale.
Boom. And they're all dumbfounded. And I'm like, well,
He'd actually shown me signs before.
In the beginning, I did kind of see that he was addicted to alcohol and drugs. But I just, you know, everyone likes to have fun. And I just start to like go backwards.
Oh, that's
I'm like,
so funny.
Fuck. But it's just what we all do. And also, especially when we're hopeless romantics.
I was about to say,
love a girls.
It's the hopeless romantic DNA.
Yeah.
It's a killer.
Love a girls.
It's a blessing and a curse.
I think it's so nice. I feel like we're like this. Zara's like this as well, your sister.
Zara is, yeah.
And it's the nicest thing ever for the right people. And I think...
reserve it for them.
Reserve it. 100% reserve it for the right people. And also just have really good friendships. And if you struggle with that, message me. Listen to this podcast.
Yes.
Because this can be a new friendship. I'm always going to be so honest and be like,
I love that.
This is not it, sis. But if you want...
do a hotline.
Oh my God, yeah. It'll just be me literally being a hard ass.
You being like, well, we already know where this is going.
He's just not that into you. But I say the same thing to myself.
That is actually a really good point. Yeah, I say that to myself too. Yeah. Not now, obviously, but I have in my dating history been like, if he was really that. The very confusing thing about dating sometimes is words and actions don't often match. Yeah. So I did get the love bombing so many times, but not the matching actions of, you know, walking the walk and talking the talk.
Yeah.
It was like the talk was easy, the walk was a little harder.
I think it would also be, that just made me think of why you had so many love bombings. I think for someone that in your 20s you were so successful, you had so much going for you, you're so gorgeous, it's almost a challenge to a certain type of man. And I say this a lot when people will say, you know, why are you single or what type of guys do you attract? I attract guys that like a challenge, but they often, that type of person, once they get the challenge, they're on to the next.
Yeah.
Like it's not that big of a deal. And I think you would have been the exact same going into your 20s.
I feel like they always started strong. My situationship / dating, they started so strong, and then you're right. It's like
then they got it,
and then it just fizzled out.
It's also just the
reality.
It's
this girl wants a commitment. That's not what I want. Believe it when they tell you.
With someone like you. So then they're like, oh fuck, I actually have to show up every day, and I can't be a piece of shit. Like I actually have to be a bit better and be a bit this, and that's hard. Like sometimes something easier might be more convenient, and then that's where they start to peter off. But by then you've been like, no, we're on.
Some guys are just not ready for what a lot of women want.
No, I definitely think with men it's the cab light scenario of if their cab light is not on, you could be the most perfect girl in the world and it won't work out. I think I have a lot of insight to it because I have so many guy friends, and sometimes they will be with the most beautiful, perfect, amazing, stunning, smart, wonderful women, and they'll fuck it up. And I'll be like, talk to me about that. How do we get there?
So what was your rationalizing on that?
And they just are not ready.
No.
And then so seeing that and seeing these girls that I just put on a pedestal be treated horribly by some guy, I would be like, so it has nothing to do with them and their worth and everything to do with where he's at. And it might just be that he's not like he doesn't think he's ready financially.
Yeah, it's where he's at that's key. It's not you, it's where he is at, and therefore what he wants because of where he's at. You know, I remember saying to Matt once, and Matt is an amazing partner and has been from day dot. No inconsistencies, no cracks.
Perfect.
It's just from day one he has shown up as a great partner. And he had a longer term relationship before me. And I remember saying to him, were you as good of a boyfriend then as what you are now? And he said, no, I really wasn't. In fact, the dead opposite, you know?
Yeah,
so
wow.
he obviously got to a point, and I know, knowing his history, that he did get to a point in his life where he was like, got this great business. It'd be better if I doubled down on it. You know, I'm going out, I'm drinking too much. I don't want to be like that. I want to, you know, double down on the gym. Like he evaluated everything before I came in, you know? So it's a given that he wasn't going to be the same in his past relationship in a different environment to what he was in our relationship with a new environment.
Yeah.
Because he created that for himself. He wanted more and wanted to take his life in a different course to where he previously was ahead of me. You know, even things like Matt's 36, all of his mates have got kids. He's the only one that doesn't have kids, like all that kind of stuff. Like life catches up to you, and at some point guys that weren't ready to settle down will be. And you won't be the girl that's around at that time. It's not because you weren't right back then. It's that they weren't ready back then. And now they're ready for who they're going to end up with, you know?
Yeah.
So you can't take it too personally.
I think
in
that's
that respect.
the biggest key. I think that was probably the underlying theme of our conversation is you can't take any of it personally.
You can't. Time and place.
If it's business, if it's relationships, don't take it personally. It's just what's meant to be will be because the universe has your back.
Yeah. So true.
Look at you. You're like, yes. Yes. I feel like we've covered
everything, haven't we? Wow.
Yeah, I know. Do you have anything else that you want to go over before we jump off?
No, we've gone everywhere, haven't
and
we?
it's gone so quick.
How long were we on for?
Like an hour and a half.
Oh my goodness.
That's crazy.
Look at you and I go.
I know.
God, we can just gas bag, can't
chat, honestly. Thank you so much for coming on. I love you
thank you for having me. I love you too. I'm so happy for you, and I'm so excited to listen to every app.
Oh my God, thank you. It's going to be so exciting. I think this is a really
your
good
calling.
journey. Oh my
it's
God,
your calling.
Thanks.
I love it.
Fingers crossed. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Oh my God, love you. That was fun.
We just kept going. Dude,